Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today on the Sotah Daf Chav Zayin. We're going to begin on the very last line of Chav Vavam Beis. Amar Shmuel, Yisa Adam. Better for a person, as we continue to Chav Zayin Amud Aleph, get married to a Duma, Val Yisa Bas Duma, and not the daughter of a Duma. What is that? Rashi says, Nitenes v'nidaberes b'fi kol al niufeho. Duma Lashon Kalasav Dibor literally has a language of speaking, but it's referring to a woman of ill repute, a promiscuous woman. So is it better to marry a woman who, Taisa says, B'nei Adam Shehim Zana? So this is again a promiscuous woman. Is it worse, or let's say it this way, the way the Gemara says it, it's better that a person should even marry a woman who's promiscuous than to marry the daughter of a promiscuous woman, to study the mother. So even if the daughter is fine, she's modest and fine, but her mother's of ill repute, that's worse. Why? Shouldn't we look at the person that you're marrying? So on this he says, Shazuba matipa ksher, Shazuba matipa psula. The reality is that the mother, this woman, even though she's a Duma, but her parents were good, and therefore there's no question that she comes from a tipa kshera, that her parents were good, and therefore the problem of marrying or having a relationship with a bas Duma is that it's possible that she came from a tipa psula, as she's promiscuous. Says Rashi, Shema mo'av klavim o mamzer. Who says that this girl that you're dating, who's a bas Duma, who the father is? And therefore, it's better because of this uncertainty that you shouldn't have anything to do with her. Even better, date or marry a Duma. Probably better neither. Rabbi Yochanan says the other way around. Lisa Adam bas Duma v'al Yisa Duma. Better the daughter of a Duma. Why? Shazu oimedes b'chesas kashus. Shazu oimedes b'chesas kashus. Look at her herself. When it comes to the daughter, says Rashi, Shemazana Tachtav. So when it comes to the girl, to the mother herself, who's Mazana Tachtav, she is probably committing adultery, and therefore the Nesarasalov, she's going to be usher to the Baal. Fu enu roya ve'enu migarsha uvoaleb iser. So he's going to end up not seeing this, not divorcing her, and he's going to end up having tashmish with her anyway. Even one time, it's going to be Isser, because he's not allowed to. But he's not going to know because she's promiscuous. This is question TA7, which I got right. Madua Shmuel Adifa Duma al Bas Duma, because at least she comes Tipa Kshera. Madua Rav Yochanan Fakert, and he says because she is at least Chesas Kashrus. Mesis. Now the Gemara asks a question. Noisi Adam Duma. It says beferish you should marry, better to marry Duma. So kasha on Rav Yochanan. So Omer Rava v'tizra Noisi Chachil. Yeah, go ahead, get married. Why would anyone tell you that's a good idea? Certainly, marrying a woman who's a Duma is going to cause you a whole lot of headaches and problems. El im nosa, it's b'di'evid. So taninami bas Duma. So since the language is off already, so instead of saying the language of Duma, say bas Duma. V'hilchas yisa onam bas Duma v'yisa Duma. Better that you should marry a girl, even though her mother is of ill repute, than to marry a woman herself who has these problems of infidelity and the like. The Tani Rab Tachlifa bar Marava Kamid Rav Avo Isha Mazana. If a woman is Mazana, Boneha Ksherim, we still will say that her children are going to be kosher. So we said, well, what do you mean? Why is it better to be with a bas Duma? L'chayr, she comes from Tipa Psula. She's probably the wife, because she was a promiscuous woman as a Duma. She most likely had tashmish with a mamzer, with avkachavim, with numerous people who are usher. So rov be'ilos achor habal. We say that the majority of bia that she had is with her husband, even though it's true she may be committing adultery left and right, but she's with her husband more. And therefore, going basar roiv, the child is probably from her husband. Okay. Also, as this may be alluded to in the next few lines of the Gemara, that if this woman is going to have a child, she's more likely going to be more careful when she has tashmish with other men not to get pregnant, as opposed to with her own husband that she will. Okay, especially nowadays with paternity tests. So there's a greater chance that this child will be the husband's. Boy Rav Amr. She asked the question, what if we're not just dealing with someone who has a shtickle infidelity problem, someone who is kind of promiscuous, someone who is really very promiscuous, but yoiser. So in this situation, do we say that maybe Rabbi or not with the Baal? So question is, when is a woman most likely to get pregnant? So according to one opinion, it's Samach Avesta, which is right before she has her period. So in that situation, we know, says Rashi, Lifnei Vest Nidusa Yom Echado Yada Habal Es Vest Nidasa. The husband doesn't know when she's going to become a Nida. It could happen today, tomorrow, a few days. So the husband doesn't know. And therefore, in that situation, Lo Tiboylach, that's not a question. Do Yadaba, he doesn't know that day, and therefore Minterla, he's not going to watch her. So, in other words, if you know your wife is kind of promiscuous, so you're going to keep an extra eye if you know there's one day a month in which she could potentially get pregnant, so you're going to want to know that one day where she is at all times. But if you have no idea when that one day is, so then there's a good chance that unfortunately she may end up getting pregnant with another man. So therefore, we may not go basaroy. If it's right after she went into the mikvah, so let's say a day or the day afterwards, since he knows when she went to the mikvah, because that next day is when she's most likely to get pregnant, so therefore he's going to watch her during that time, and therefore, even though he knows that she may be promiscuous, nonetheless, he's going to end up having to, again, it's hard to understand this entirely, because if you know that this is the situation, she's prut b'yoser, then maybe you're going to be usher to her because she had bia. Okay, it means that it doesn't mean necessarily that she had bia, but she just has a promiscuous personality. Okay, so let's look at question 1. Let's see how it's dissected. Are we concerned We're concerned that the children are mamzerim. So, according to the one who says that a woman only gets pregnant, we are chayshish that the child could be. Or the one who says the woman only really gets pregnant like right after going to the mikvah, what the husband knows when that time is, so that's an boy delishata. Okay. Weiter. So now let's continue. So the Gemara continues like this. Ve'elu shebeisdin v'chu. So sometimes the Beis-Din will intervene, and they will give the warning, even though the husband is incapable of doing it. Tanabon, or maybe because of that, rather, I should say. Tanabon. Ish. Ish rabas eishes chedesh, ve'eshes shaita, ve'eshes shiamum. So, in the situation if you have a wife of a deaf mute, or someone who is mentally deranged, or shiamum, he has some type of a mood disorder, Rahman al-Atzlan. So, shahalach balam nisiyam, or the husband's in a different country, or he's in jail, then the Beis-Din will be able to speak up and warn her, and that could passel her, and will get her so she won't get her ksuba. So you would think maybe that would also work even as far as having her drink Sotah. No. It's necessary that the husband himself brings her. So therefore, if the husband's not in the picture, he certainly cannot, and he's not around, so she's not going to drink Sotah, because it has to be the procedures. The husband brings her to the kohen. No, that's not true. She could also drink Sotah. Why? Not right now, So let's say he's in jail. So he didn't warn her. So we could warn her, and then she gets secluded. And then once he finds out about it, and he's freed from jail. Then he could bring her to be tested. So what's this machlokas? Whether or not it's shaykh that we could warn. Let's say the person's in jail, for the person who's in jail, his wife, and whether or not she will drink mei Sotah after the fact. So Rabbanan Sabri be'inan v'kine v'hevi. It needs v'kine v'hevi. It has to be almost like without stop. Says Rashi, hamakani lo yashkena, that the one who warns will have her drink, and therefore since the husband didn't warn, so therefore she won't drink. V'kasha b'kinui nami haksiv es ishtoi, damash medabal makani lo v'lo yacher, hamas rabbi mishish. Even though the truth you can say, so then if that's what it means, then why do we have a right as a basin to be able to warn her? Because there's a rib in the pasuk. Rav Yosef said, so that's the reason. Tanaban. The pasuk says, isha tachas isha. So this woman acted immorally by secluding herself while she was married to this husband. So we compare the man to woman, woman to man. If the man is blind, the husband's blind, she doesn't drink. It has to be something which is hidden only in this circumstance from the eyes of the husband. In other words, it has to be that he really can see, but he didn't see it. Mashma, someone who could never see, there's no din of mei Sotah. Kachi im haisa suma lo haisa shaisa. Also, if she's blind, she will also not drink mei Sotah. So if either the husband or the woman are blind, no mei Sotah. Rav Ashi Omer kashem shechigeres v'gidemes lo haisa shaisa. Just like if, let's say, you have someone who's a chigeres, she's incapable, she's lame, it's hard for her to walk, or she's a gidemes, she has a hand, for example, cut off, lo haisa shaisa. She's not able to drink mei Sotah in that situation. Why not? What's wrong with that? Just because she can't walk so well or she's missing an arm. Dechsiv, as the pasuk says, as we continue Chav Zayin Beis, v'hemid hakayin es ish lifnei Hashem. That it says that she basically physically has to go there. So Rashi says, well, chigeres. Practically, if she's not physically able to do it herself, then it's not the himid. And v'nasan al kapeh, it's put on her palms, which excludes a gidemes ketumas yadayim. She doesn't have hands. Kachu im hoyechiger gidem lo mashke. So too in that situation, also they won't drink if the husband has these physical handicaps. Just like a mute cannot drink, part of the ceremony is she has to be able to speak, and if she's a mute, she can't. Therefore, kachu so too if he can't speak, also for the same thing. So it has to be that she's not going to be, either party cannot be blind, mute, lame, or missing a limb. Otherwise, then the din is that there would be no din mei Sotah. And again, you could just say pashtus and gezeres hakasa, but again, perhaps we could also derech drush homiletically understand. If one person has a flaw, even though this seems a little bit harsh, maybe that's the reason why she doesn't drink mei Sotah, because maybe she can say, oh, my husband has this flaw, or my wife has this flaw. So because they have something which they see negative, maybe that's what caused her to commit adultery, etc. It doesn't give her a right, but again, it's possible that she should almost feel, oh, I can take advantage of the situation because of my husband's handicap, his inability to do something, so therefore I'm going to commit adultery, or I'm going to act in a promiscuous manner. Doesn't allow it, but perhaps that could justify in her mind why she would do such a thing. Okay. Or herself, she feels because I'm lacking, there's something wrong with my life, so she feels this is missing. It's something to think about. Question 2. Haya isha chigarim o gedomim him shaisa. No, umahatam, because the pasuk says v'him akayin And it says v'nosan al kapeha. And also a man is not going to be mash because when we make a hekesh leisha. This is also going to be TB8, which asks the question, my hilchasa asi hekesh ha'ish leisha, my hilchasa asi hekesh leish leish b'parshas Sotah. It's a little bit hard the way it's written, but as we saw, if im hoya chiger or gidem or elim, so she won't drink, so too by him. Or if he's blind, she won't drink, and also even if she is blind, the same din will apply. Hanula charusa, hanula charusa, hanula charusa. We now continue with the 5th parak, okay, with this lengthy Mishnah, which we're going to spend the rest of today's daf just seeing up until the end of the Mishnah. You can say this is terrible, all these terrible punishments for this woman, but don't worry, the man who commits adultery also will get the same punishment. Shenemr uvoi uvoi kashem sur labal kacha sur laboil. Shenemr nitma vin nitma. The vav, the Rabbi Kiva tells us this din. Amar Rabbi Yeshua kacha yadarish Zachariah ben Akatzav. Rabbi Yomi shnei pa. Rabbi Yomi shnei pa mim hamurim b'parsha nitma vin nitma. It says it twice. Echad labal v'echad laboil. So it answers both. The fact there is Rashi says is vav yisera. Question 3. Kashem shahamayim boitkin osa, kachamayim boitkin oso. Mihu oso, the boil. Okay, weiter. Bobayom, Darish Rabbi Kiva. On that day, what does that mean? Says Rashi, bringing us to the 4th parak, Tfilas HaShachar. Amrina d'chol heicha d'tani bobayom. Anytime it says on that day, hu yoim shehoshivu es Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah l'nesius. This was the day that was Azariah, 18 years old, was appointed the position of being this great leader. He increased many students. Rabbi Gamliel, Omer Kol Talmid Chacham Shein Teicha Kabaro Al Yechanis Beis Medrash. So Rabbi Gamliel, his predecessor, had a very strict rule that if you were not Teicha Kabara, if you're not so perfect that your insides were like your outsides, you were perfect inside and out, then you can't enter the Beis Medrash. However, with Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, he removed the shomer, and anyone could enter, and so many more people entered on that day. And because of that, there was so much more Torah that was being learned. Which is the language of the Gemara over there, that there was everything was explained. So why is it here? Why are we learning this in this Masechta now? Because this whole notion of nitma v'nitma, that we're not only going to punish the Baal, we're also going to punish the boil. We're going to not punish the Baal, but he's going to be us, not just like she's usher to her husband, she's going to be usher to the boil. So that's what we learn now. Okay, bo b'yoyim, fine. So now we continue with more bo b'yoyims. Again, probably there's a connection between what happened with Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah taking over the position, Rabbi Gamliel being removed, him insulting Rabbi Yeshua, that there's maybe some connection between that and Sotah. Think about that. Bo b'yoyim, Darish Rabbi Kiva. The pasuk says, "Ukli cheres asher yipol mehem el toicho." So let's say you have a sheretz. Now a sheretz is an av hatuma, and it fell into this kli cheres. Says Rashi, kli cheres hu rishon. It's a rishon. Shenitma min a sheretz. The sheretz is an av, so therefore when it touches the kli cheres, the kli cheres becomes a rishon latuma, and other mekalim could get to the level of a rishon. But oichel shabatoichel sheni shenitma b'kli. And any food that's in the kli becomes a sheni, because oichel and mashkin can be matam sheni level. Kol asher b'toichel yitma. Anything which is in is tameh, which again becomes a sheni latoma. Any oimer tameh el yitma matame acher. It says that not only does it become tameh, but it even has the ability to be matama other things. Now, typically a sheni cannot be, which is oichel and mashkin, cannot be matama to a shlishi level food or drink. So how do we understand this? Limin al kikar sheni. It's talking regarding this bread, which is a sheni latoma, shematam es a shlishi, that it has the ability, this bread, to be matama something onto the shlishi level. What? So Rashi tells us, but Truma. It's talking about Truma. Truma can become tummy up to the level of a shlishi, or poisel to the level of a shlishi. Says Rashi, "V'afil b'chulin the cross stomachsiv." Okay. Amar Yeshua, mi egal offer me'enecha Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai. Who is the one that revealed this dust in your eyes? Sha'isa omer asid dar acher l'taher kikar shlishi. That a future generation will say that we're going to be mataher kikar shlishi, which again was referring to truma. She'ein loy mikram in the Torah shutame. There's no pasuk in the Torah to say that truma will become tamei on a shlish leva. V'lo Rabbi Akiva talmidcha maybe lo mikram in the Torah shutame shnemer kol asher b'saycha yitma. So therefore, his drush is coming to teach us that there is this concept based on this pasuk that it could be matama truma. Okay, if you look in Rashi, asid dor acher min hasidim lavoi shiataras hashlishi af betruma shein lo mikra min the Torah. You would think that maybe it would not become tummy on a shlish level. Yanan who demitaminan leim betruma mekavachaymer. And of course, the Gemara b'dor acher parach leim mekavachaymer. And it's really learned out from mekavachaymer. That's tummy on a shlish level. But Rabbi Kiva really says, you can see from the pasuk. Bo b'yom darsh Rabbi Kiva. Rabbi Kiva darshaned. So that's Rabbi. So this is Rabbi Akiva. Now Rabbi Akiva was actually one of the people that were contemplating to give him the position boy bayoim, but he wasn't given the position as nasi because he didn't have shchosavos. Now the pasuk says umadaisim mechutz la'ir el pas kedma el payim ba'alma v'goymer. So it talks about the measurements of alpayim ba'alma, 2,000 amos. Umikra acher oimer. Another pasuk says mikira ir b'chutz elef amma. Savim. It says 1,000. So it's kind of hard to understand. Yeshua oimer. This is referring to the Ari Halavim. So Yeshua oimer elef amma shkvar nemer alpayim amma. Yeshua oimer alpayim amma shkvar nemer elef amma haketzad. You have an absolute direct contradiction in the pasuk regarding the measurements of the Ari Halavim, if it's 2,000 or 1,000 amma. So this is how we learn it. Amma elef amma migrash v'alpayim amma tchum hashabes. What's migrash? Says Rashi, rachava. This is like the rachava, which in Masechtas Eruvin discusses the backyard. Rachava panuya mizriya. It's open from planting. Umebatim from homes. Umeilanois lanoi ha'ir. Liyoisla la'avir. So what is a migrash? Basically, it's an open area where they plant trees, so it's beautiful. It's kind of like in Central Park, where you have all these buildings, but they designated some area in order that the whole place is not just cement and stone. So this is what was done by the Ari Halavim to beautify the city, and that there should be also air, that this 1,000 amos directly outside of the city is something in which is basically untouched, and it's just a lot of nice trees, etc. V'alpayim l'husker l'tit l'avim v'nemer el l'yitzias tchum Shabbos. When it came to the 2,000, it has to do with the tchum Shabbos. Rabbi Eliezer ben Rabbi Yosef Haguli Omer elf alma migrash v'alpayim alma sadas ukramim. So he agrees the 1,000 is migrash, but the 2,000 is sadas ukramim, fields and vineyards. Says Rashi, v'alpayim saviv nosel avimehem hanichu elf saviv v'ir migrash v'shar sadas ukramim. Everything else outside of that are you can plant fields, you can have vineyards. Bo b'yom darash Rabbi Kiva. Oh, Zeh Moshe b'nei Yisrael Sashir Hasos Hashem Yarmu Leimor. So this very famous pasuk, it says Leimor. Shein Talmud Leimor Ma Talmud Leimor. Why does it have to say that? Says Rashi, Sheinu Daimel Shar Leimor Shabbatayra. It's not similar to other times it's found. Shashchina Medaber Hadibel Moshe Laxerhu Oimer Yisrael Avol Kan in Loimerkain. Malamet Shal Yisrael Oinin Shir Acharav Shel Moshe I'll call Dover v'Dover Kikorin as a Hallel. That what actually happened was Moshe said it, and also after every basic word, so did the Klal Yisrael say the same thing, basically repeating it, just like as it's explained, when Hallel was said, a lot of it was repeated. The Shliach Tzibor says, and then the Kahal says it. So that's what it was done. Ashir Hashem ki goy go. Lekach nemer leimor. That's why it says leimor. It's like we say the Shema, not like the way we say Hallel, and Rashi says the Megamar Mefarish. Gemara is going to explain all this, so we'll get to that in a future daf. Bo b'yom derish Rabbi Yeshua ben Horkanus loy avad Iyuv es HaKadosh Baruch Hu el mi'ava. That Iyuv only served Hashem out of love. Says Rashi, she'oyev es ha'makam, he loved Hashem. Shnemer hein yiktaleni, that although it's killing me, lo ayachel, I yearn for you to Hashem. Lo, to you Hashem, I yearn. Yadayin hadavar shakulo, and this matter is still like even. Ani mitzapa, o ani mitzapa. I want or I don't want. Talmud Loimer, the pasuk then says, Ad egvalo aser tu mosi mimeni, that until it is expired, it should not be removed that which is tamim from me. Mulamid shemi ahava asa. It shows that it was from love. Rabbi Yeshua mi gal offer meinecha Rabbi Yochanan Zakkai shayisa darish kol yamecha shalei avad Iyuv es hamakam el meira. Up until now, we thought that Iyuv only served Hashem out of fear. Shenemar ish tam v'yasher yirei Elokim. It says beferish he was God-fearing. B'sar meira, he distanced from bad. Vo Yeshua talmidcha limid she'ahava shemi'ahava asa. That really he served Hashem out of love. Ad kan.